The hunting grounds of the Talon's pride had gone dark. Captain Vorash pressed his clawed hand against the viewing port, watching debris scatter into the void. The solar flare had been catastrophic, a once-in-a-millennium event that fried every electrical system on the ship. His people, the Krell, had conquered a dozen star systems through strength and superior reflexes. They feared nothing except this. The nursery pod? Vorash's growl was low, dangerous. His second-in-command, Rekthar, couldn't meet his eyes. Offline, the environmental controls failed immediately. We're working to. How long does he have? Silence. Then, minutes, Captain. Perhaps less. The temperature is already dropping below survivable levels. Vorash clenched his hand. The doors leading to the sector with his son were blocked after the power failure, and even with their strength, it would take the Krell hours to reach him. Vorash's triple-jointed legs carried him toward the door. His son, his only cub, 3 months old and already showing the bronze fur pattern of a future pack leader. Krell cubs needed precise temperature regulation. Too cold and their metabolism would shut down catastrophically. Their bodies couldn't generate sufficient heat. Evolution had made them efficient killers, not survivors of environmental extremes. The human, Rekthar said suddenly. Ambassador Jameson. She was near that sector when the flare hit. Vorash's lips curled. Humans. The Federation had insisted on their inclusion in the expedition. Weak creatures with their dull teeth, their pathetic claws that couldn't even retract. They tired easily, couldn't see in the dark, couldn't even hear the full spectrum of sound. The Krell had accepted them only because diplomatic protocols demanded it. Leave her, Vorash said. Find my son. Lieutenant Kira Jameson had served 2 tours in Arctic reconnaissance before joining the Xenodiplomacy Corps. When the solar flare hit and the lights died, her training kicked in automatically. She'd felt the ship's temperature plummet, heard the emergency systems fail, and understood what that meant for any Krell cubs aboard. She'd met Vorash's son once, during a formal ceremony. The tiny predator had watched her with luminous amber eyes, curious despite his father's obvious disdain for her species. She'd smiled at him and he'd made a sound. Not quite a purr, not quite a chirp, that his handler had explained meant interest. The nursery was 3 decks down. Kira moved fast. The Krell had designed their ships for their proportions, high ceilings, wide corridors. She ran, her human endurance carrying her through the darkness while the Krell crew stumbled, their night vision useless without the ship's power to amplify existing light. She found the nursery pod sealed but failing. The temperature gauge read -5 Celsius and dropping. Through the small window she saw him. A small bundle of bronze fur, curled tight, not moving. Kira overrode the manual lock and pulled herself inside. The cold hit her like a physical blow. The cub was unconscious, his breathing shallow. She touched his small body, ice cold. Krell were warm-blooded like humans, but cubs couldn't regulate their temperature effectively yet. They relied on den warmth, on heated nursery pods, on technology. Technology that had failed. Kira stripped off her jacket and thermal undershirt. Her body was already shaking, but she didn't hesitate. She scooped the cub against her bare skin, wrapped her jacket around them both, and held him close. Human baseline, 37 degrees Celsius. Human advantage, constant heat production through inefficient metabolism. Come on, little guy, she whispered, rubbing his back gently. Stay with me. The cub's body was so cold it hurt to hold him. Kira's teeth chattered violently. She did squats, lunges, anything to generate more heat. The cub stirred slightly against her chest. Good. She kept moving, kept generating warmth, even as her fingers went numb and her vision blurred. Her emergency beacon was useless with the ship's communications down. So she waited and she kept moving and she kept the cub alive. Hours later, she'd lost count. She heard voices, Krell voices, speaking their rapid, clicking language. She tried to call out, but her jaw was frozen shut. Rekthar found her slumped in the corner, the cub still pressed against her chest. The lieutenant's lips were blue, her skin frighteningly pale. But when he approached, the cub stirred and made a small, healthy sound. Captain! Rekthar's voice carried through the corridor. Captain, here. Now. The medical bay was warm. Kira became aware of this first warmth seeping into her frozen limbs, painful and wonderful. She opened her eyes to find Captain Vorash standing beside her bed, his predatory features unreadable. Your son? She managed through cracked lips. Alive. Healthy. Because of you. He paused, and something shifted in his expression. Our physicians say you maintained his core temperature with your own body heat for 6 hours. Your body temperature dropped to dangerous levels. You have frostbite on your extremities. You could have died. Couldn't let him die, Kira said simply. Vorash was silent for a long moment. Then he placed his clawed hand over his chest, a Krell gesture of profound respect. We thought humans weak, fragile. We were fools. You possess something we Krell have lost in our strength, the will to sacrifice, the ability to endure. My son lives because your primitive biology gave what our advanced evolution could not. He stepped aside, and a handler brought the cub forward. The small predator chirped when he saw Kira, reaching for her with tiny claws. She laughed, wincing at her cracked ribs. He knows you saved him, Vorash said quietly. As do I. From this day you are packmate. Family. No Krell will ever again call humanity weak in my presence. Kira stroked the cub's soft fur, feeling his warmth, the warmth she'd given back to him. Tell them we're not strong despite our limitations, Captain. Tell them we're strong because of them. That's what makes us human. Outside the medical bay, the ship's power flickered back to life. But something had already changed, something that would ripple through the Krell Empire and beyond. A simple truth, that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the greatest power lies in the warmth of an inefficient human heart.